Okay, we got our collards here, and I'm just showing you how I fix them. I stem them. You can see these big stems in them right here. I always like to stem mine because, see the big stem? Today we're going to be doing them, we're going to stir fry them. So I just wanted to show y'all how I clean them, how I stem them. I'm going to be chopping them up in a little bit. So these are just beautiful, nice collards. Look how pretty, out of the garden.
And I grew them.
Roy grew them. So we'll see y'all back in a little bit.
All right, so what are you going to do today?
Y'all, beautiful collards out of our garden. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
These are young, tender leaves because I'm going to be stir frying my collards. Now, I usually put them in my Instapot and cook them, pressure them like 30 minutes, but these are so young and tender. Roy came up with a recipe, and we're going to try it, and we're going to try it out on y'all, see how you like it. I've got cabbage that I cut up a couple of days ago that we got out of the garden. The collards are out of the garden. He ran up to a little Peacock's meat market here in Cary, where we live, and got some cracklins. And if y'all don't know what cracklins are, these are home-style skinless cracklins. They're you tell them what they are, honey. I know what they are, but.
Well, they've been rendered. They're the skin and fat off of a pig, and they've been rendered down. That means they've just been heated until most of the grease has been gathered from them. And back in the Civil War era, people really ate a lot of these in cornbread and in vegetables as seasoning. So we're just sort of rolling back to that era and picking up a
Now, if you've never had crackling cornbread, oh my goodness. It's so good. All right, I'm just cutting these, just kind of chopping these like in bite-sized pieces because I am going to stir fry them. And we're doing collards and cabbage crackling stir fry this morning.
And we're going to have Lacey cornbread, and I'll talk about the glycemic load. This is all low carb load, low glycemic load meal.
Okay. I've got some more in the sink, so I'm going to cut a few more, not many more, because these do not shrink down like turnips and mustard and kale, things like that, spinach. These kind of keep their, you have about as many when you get through as you do when you start. So, and in the some other greens you don't. They really shrink down. So I'm going to just clean some more, get them cut up, and then we're going over behind me to the stove, and we're going to start putting this together.
Grandma, what are you trying?
Y'all know what this is?
I bet I can guess.
Guess.
She's going to baconize this dish.
This is bacon grease. I got my pan on medium high, and I put about 2 tablespoons of bacon grease in it. Now you can use lard. You can use olive oil. You can use whatever oil you want to use. Some people use vegetable oil, some canola oil, just whichever one you want to use. Do you want onions in this, honey, or just...
Honey, I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm going to cook my collards a little bit before I cook my cabbage because it doesn't take cabbage as long as it does collards. So I'm going to stir fry my collards a little bit. Let them wilt down a little bit before I put my cabbage in. Now, I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of minced garlic in mine. Now, y'all see me use stevia all the time. I have 3 different kinds of stevia that I use. I use the powdered stevia that's mixed with the erythritol or something that I use when I'm baking. I have pure stevia powder, And it doesn't say who this is put out by. Bulksupplements.com is what it is. Now this is the pure stevia that I use in my tea. And it only takes like a little less than a teaspoon for a whole gallon of tea. Because if you use the pure, it is so potent.
If you taste of it with your tip of your finger, it's bitter, isn't it?
Yeah.
In that form.
It is.
It's so strong.
And I have, this is put out by Sweet Leaf. It is pure stevia drops. It's liquid stevia. And it's put out by Sweet Leaf. And it's clear stevia. Now in this, you can get different flavors. But I like the plain. Because when I'm doing fruit, when I'm doing other things, sometimes I will use the pure stevia drops, and it only takes, I mean, it's like the powder. It is really potent. So that's what I'm going to use, because we like ours just a little bit sweet. So I'm going to be using my stevia drops.
And collards in the summertime can be a little bit strong.
Just a little bit strong, yeah. So now in the fall and the winter, no, they're not. But they can be in the summertime.
They sweeten up after the frost hits them.
Yeah. All right, now I'm going to put, and I'll measure this for y'all. This is a teaspoon, so I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put about a half a teaspoon of pepper in my collard. They already smell so good. All right, I'm going to let these cook probably 3 or 4 more minutes because they're beginning to wilt down really good. What I'll do, it's only going to take my cabbage like 5, maybe 7 minutes to cook. So I will taste of these, and when they get start getting tender, then I'll put my cabbage in, and we'll be right back.
When you think you ought to put the cracklins in, Grandma?
I'm going to do it now.
Okay.
Because I want all that crackling flavor in with my greens. And I'm just going to kind of guesstimate. I'm going to start out with 1 cup of cracklings, and I may add more. We'll see.
You'll know by the time you put your recipe on. She'll adjust the recipe because we've never cooked this before.
No, we've never done this. Roy, we were sitting in the living room. Roy just said, "Honey, I got a new dish for us." So he does that all the time. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, about 99 out of 100. She just laughs at me, waves me off.
These are really cooking down nicely. We got the young, tender leaves, so I don't think it's going to take them as long to cook as what I thought it would. Okay, I think that may be enough cracklings right there.
Well, when you add your cabbage, you may want more, don't know.
I'm going to taste of them.
You're going to add,
Ooh,
have you already added your stevia?
No, not yet.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. Those are so good. Those aren't bitter to me. Roy tasted one. He said they're a little bitter. They're not to me. All right, now this is my liquid stevia. I put like 6 or 7 drops. And I'll taste and see if I think that's enough. And if it's not, then I'll add some more. Oh, that's good. All right. I think it's time to, now I have put no water in here. None at all. Okay.
And if you cooks out there think onions would be better in it than leaving them out, just add your onions.
Just add onions, but we're not going to put onions today.
This is going to wind up about 2/3 collards and 1/3 cabbage, you think, or half and half?
Well, since the collards cook down some, it's about half and half. It's going to be about half and half.
Okay.
All right, y'all. These are going to have to cook until my cabbage wilt down some. Now, you see that leaf, that stem right there? You do not want that stem in your stir-fried cabbage. So, they're sweet enough. That was perfect on the stevia. All right, y'all, it's time for Lacey cornbread. If y'all ever had Lacey cornbread, well, we're making some this morning. I've got about 1.5 cups of plain cornmeal. Plain cornmeal is just stone ground. Mine is stone ground corn. Has no leavening agents, no salt, no nothing in it. So I'm just adding my water. This is just plain water. It is plain cornmeal and water. That's all there is to it. That's the way you make Lacey cornbread.
And before any of you on a low carb, low diet change the channel, let me explain to you how you can have your cornbread and stay low carb load. It's all based upon what are you eating for the rest of the meal. Now today she is cooking greens, cabbage basically, and collards, stir fry. And there are basically 0 carb load in those vegetables. So your carb load is 0 over on the vegetable pan that you see in the picture. So now, when we go to eat this, I love cornbread with greens, and most of you do too. So what are we gonna do? If you put 2 tablespoons full of the corn mix that you see in front of us per piece of cornbread, you're adding a glycemic load of 4.
This is about the consistency you want it right here. That's perfect.
So each piece of the cornbread with 2 tablespoons of cornmeal are gonna give you a carb load of 4. Now she didn't put 2 whole.
Now this is more than a tablespoon. This is about 1.5 tablespoons, so I put 1.5 of these scoops.
Now that piece of cornbread.
I measure mine, and it makes just a really, really good. It makes a good sized piece of cornbread.
And so this piece of cornbread will have a glycemic load of 4. 10 is considered to be low glycemic load for you that are on glycemic diets. All right, so for me, I'll eat 3 pieces of this with my greens. That'll give me a carb load or glycemic load in this meal of just over 10. In other words, I'll eat 3 pieces, that'll be 12 on the glycemic load. So you would still be safe. And if you just want to eat 1 or 2 pieces, then you can take off a carb load of 4 for each piece that you don't eat.
Now I'm cooking this on medium high. This is my small burner, so I always use it for my cornbread because I know what temperature to cook it on. So I just wait. You see the reason we call it Lacey? You see all how it looks lacy around it? So I'll just go under it like this, and I'll just let it sit there until it turns brown. I'll turn it over, and then when it gets brown on both sides, I'll put it on my little rack here, and I'll let it drain. Don't sit it on just paper towels because paper towels get greasy, and that grease will stay in your cornbread. So always put it on a rack. So this will be ready in just a few minutes. And you want enough grease in your pan where it floats. Because that is how you get your lacy edges, is if your cornbread is floating like that.
Your grease has to be bubbling up through the cornbread mix to give the lacy holes. Yep. Right. Boy, that's pretty.
Now, I use a pair of tongs to turn mine just like that. Now, that's how you want it. See how brown it is? It's kind of lighter on the edges and kind of brown. So I always use a pair of tongs. If you use tongs instead of a spatula, if you flip it over with a spatula, that grease can pop on you and burn you. But if you use tongs, it's very simple to just pick up, turn over, pick up, put on your paper towel. So our collards and cabbage are done. We've tasted of them. Whew, they are so good. And cooking them like this keeps your nutrition. You're not boiling them in water. I put absolutely no water in these at all. You have more nutrition. You keep all of that and all your minerals, vitamins, everything is much healthier for you. Okay, our cornbread is ready. I put it on my rack. I'm going to get another. And every time, let me take this out. Every time your water will come to the top. So every time before you put some down, stir it up. All right, you see how that grease is coming up through that cornbread and it's making it lacy. That's Lacey cornbread. So we're gonna keep cooking, and when we come back, then we're gonna taste of our cornbread and our greens. See you in a minute.
Real crusty cornbread goes farther than home cornbread when you're eating it with vegetables, because it's so crispy. You can just sort of take little bites and it still flavors your vegetable.
All right, y'all, let me show y'all something. Look at this. Kale, get it. You see, look at that Lacey cornbread. You see that?
You've been creative, Grandmama.
Look at there. I put cracklins.
Crackling cornbread.
I put a little bit down in my mixture and I fried it. I want y'all to look at that.
Crackling Lacey cornbread.
You talk about
Don't do that. You're doing that in public. You have to hide when you eat cracklings
y'all.
in cornbread. Oh, let me try. Oh, lamb.
That was so good. Now you talk about Lacey cornbread. That is Lacey cornbread right there. I had baked the ham. Now this is our lunch. This is our good old southern, South Georgia, Middle Georgia lunch right here. Stir fry collards.
I can eat all of this I want. I can't eat all the cornbread. I'm limiting myself to 3 slices of the cornbread, all the ham I want, and all the greens I want.
Stop talking and taste. Y'all.
Oh, goodness.
That is so good. If you have never stir-fried collards with cabbage and cracklins, y'all, that is so good.
Well, this is a Grandma Rose's YouTube channel original.
It is. Good old.
Remember, you saw this dish first here.
Good old southern eating.
Maybe a little slice of ham, but you don't even really have to have the ham.
Cracklins Lacey cornbread. Bet you've never heard of that.
You did good, honey. I didn't tell you to do this.
Y'all, make you this dish. It is wonderful. You can do it with other greens too, but the collards and cabbage they go together so well. Because their texture is so much the same. So, food feeds the family, family feeds the heart, God feeds the soul.
We got to pull the curtain so we can eat.
Put deliciousness back in healthy food. See y'all next time.
Y'all have a great day. Thanks.